I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. It's Monday for many of you, and Monday is not usually the best of days, but I hope that you have a good one anyway. January's already half over. There's the year's 124th done. So much going on. Or that was last week. It's more than half over. What are we going to do? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do here in the Dice Tower. Lots of things. Come back later on today, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll be doing a live Q&A there. Our Kickstarter is still going on. So if you haven't backed the Kickstarter yet, at this point, we've reached our stretch goal of Twitch. Now, some people are worried like, oh, you're going to leave YouTube? No. We're going to add Twitch. And there's going to be a slow process as the year goes by as we add Twitch and start streaming there in addition to YouTube, but that's cool. And we still have many other cool things we'd like to do. So if you want to back the Kickstarter, we'll have a link down below. If you noticed last week, we did a couple live plays of games. We're going to try to be doing some more of that this week, so keep an eye out for that as we do these live plays. We'll also try to have different contests. We did a Dice Tower Tonight last week, where we did a fun contest and a kind of a game show thing where you could get involved. If you're missing our Dice Tower Tonight shows that we do every other Wednesday night. Well, we're doing 2 back-to-back, but normally it's every other Wednesday night. I recommend that you check it out because the Dice Tower Tonight is a lot of fun, and it's me and Eric Summer, my co-host from the Dice Tower, going back and forth like that. Okay, though, it's time to start the show, and we'll start with the news. Okay, so in the news, first of all, the Star Wars Living Card Game has a new expansion pack coming out, Promise of Power, a new cycle or what have you. But what's important is this is the last pack in that cycle and a last pack in the game itself. Star Wars Living Card Game, they are finishing it. Fantasy Flight is doing kind of a cool thing, I think, where when they're done with one of these living card games, they say, we're done, and they end it, right? So this one's ended. The final like World Championship of this game will be in May. So this is the first Star Wars games of theirs, I think, of these various ones, Star Wars Destiny and all this, that they've officially ended. We'll see what happens with the other ones. X-Wing is still going strong. And anyway, this pack is based on the Rebels cartoon show for Star Wars. From Hasbro, the Monopoly cheat bot exists. Apparently, a survey was done of 2,000 people, and half of them admitted that they cheat at Monopoly. What in the world? Half these people are cheating? Who are they surveying? How many people are cheating at board games? Come on now. Anyway, this cheat bot is a way to dole out punishments and other things. Whatever. Is this even news? Okay. WizKids has announced some more stuff with Dice Masters. We've already talked about their 40K Dice Masters stuff coming. And now they also mentioned Avengers Infinity, of course, with the movie coming out this summer. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Black Panther set at some point. They are going to be standalone sets, though, not in the collectible format. Now, they said they're going to be starting doing more of this to make it easier for people to get into the game. I couldn't tell from the writing if they're stopping the collectible packs, or if these are an additional to collectible packs, or if they're doing the collectible packs less often. I don't know. Either way, I don't think this is a bad thing for the game to have these standalone sets. That's for sure. Century Golem Edition. We've talked about this a lot, and this was originally going to only be sold at conventions and through Plan B Games itself, but now it will be available in retailers, which is a good sign, and hopefully... Okay, so they said it wouldn't do that, and now they are. And then they said, they're saying it's never going to have expansions, but we can still hope, right? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Codenames XXL from CGE Games. This has cards that are 4.7 inches by 2.8 inches. Very large. I think 3 times bigger than the original game. I don't know why people need a giant Codenames, but maybe if you're playing a big party game, it makes it easier to play. So I'm sure a lot of people will get it. Pegasus has announced exclusive distribution for Frosted Games. Now, Frosted Games came on the scene. They originally did those. If you watched as we punched out the Christmas Advent calendar, they made that. But they also make some board games. You can see a couple here. And so Pegasus will be carrying those. The Casual Game Magazine has announced their casual game nominees for 2017. You have a chance to go online and vote for them. We got Sagrada, Go Nuts for Donuts, and Azul. I think the clear winner for me here is Azul. It fits the casual and is the best of the 3, although I really do like Sagrada too. Then the big news of the week, I think, is from Grail Games. Yellow and Yangtze. This is from Reiner Knizia. But if you look over the past few years, you'll notice that many of the games being published from Reiner Knizia are reprints or redoings of his older games. This is kind of that way, but this is a sequel to Tigers and Euphrates, and not like, this is a sequel. No, they're like, this is a sequel, to the point where it looks really similar. It has hexes instead of squares. There are 5 colors instead of 4. There are other changes in the internal-external conflicts. Tigers and Euphrates is Knizia's probably his most highly rated game that he has done. For a while on Board Game Geek, it was the number 2 position for many years. It is a game that, there's a lot of people don't like it, but has been highly regarded. So this one, especially with, the artwork on this one, one of my favorite artists, and that added to this, I don't know. We'll have to see. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Tigers and Euphrates. We'll see how this one comes across, but this one I know a lot of people are pretty excited about, and I can't wait to see this one come. All right, lots of cool stuff in the regular board game world. Now let's merge over into Kickstarter.
Happy breakfast, everybody. If you've got to fight a teeny tiny zombie apocalypse, at least you can be well caffeinated while you do so if you pledge for some of today's projects. Deja Vu is a set collection and tableau game featuring really cool panoramic art on the cards. Thematically, players are cosmic beings traveling the universe, collecting memory fragments, and your job is to help the nameless girl find her lost memories and bring them back together to form a cohesive picture. A Mancala-like mechanism inspired by 5 tribes is used by players to gather these wooden tokens. You then use these tokens to buy cards and build up your tableau, which in turn provides new abilities. A 5th player option and solo play rules have been unlocked as stretch goals, and you can get a copy of Deja Vu for a pledge of 359 Hong Kong dollars, which translates to about 46 US dollars. Mansky Caper from Calliope Games is a push-your-luck game about breaking into a mobster's mansion and stealing all of his stuff. You'll have to navigate the mansion, avoid booby traps, and crack the safe to emerge victorious. As you search safes, maybe you'll find treasure, keys to unlocking more rooms, plot twists, or booby traps. There's an interesting semi-cooperative element to the game because you have to share the goods you find with other players that are in the room with you, and you can't use these special abilities that you have for yourself. You exchange favor tokens with others to use special abilities. But only the player who makes it out with the most loot wins. You can get Mansky Caper for a pledge of $32. If you're into big sci-fi horror games, then you might want to check out Nemesis. From the publisher of This War of Mine and Lords of Hellas, Nemesis is a semi-co-op game in which you're trying to survive a swarm of aliens while accomplishing your secret objectives on your broken-down ship. You also have to get the ship back up and running and headed in the right direction, or get to one of the escape pods without being infected. Explore the ship, gather items, get attacked by aliens, deal with events, get attacked by more aliens, which are represented by massive detailed minis. Keep supplies on hand to deal with panic events, and while you can't shoot your opponent directly, you can help eliminate their health through things like timely grenades or destruction sequences. Nemesis has a base game available for £70 plus shipping, but of course there are a number of add-ons available as well. Gamelin Games is back with their latest installment in the Tiny Epic collection, Tiny Epic Zombies. This small box game comes packed with great little components, including vehicle bits for meeples and a bunch of incredibly cool item meeples, like the ones you find in Tiny Epic Quest. Tiny Epic Zombies is designed to play quickly with 5 different play modes, including cooperative and competitive settings in which you play as the survivors or the zombies. As survivors, you'll be moving around, searching for items, and fighting off zombies or shooting at them. As zombies, you're going to work to take over locations and, of course, destroy all the survivors. The base game of Tiny Epic Zombies takes a pledge of $20 plus shipping, or for just $5 more, you can get the deluxe edition that includes extra items and characters. And last but not least, Seize the Bean is a modular deck builder in which you're an ambitious and kind of pretentious cafe owner in modern-day Berlin. Attract customers, manage your resources, and build up your shop to serve your customers a great cup of coffee and, more importantly, get great reviews. But as your hype increases, tourists will start to arrive, which of course lower that hype. In case you can't tell, the game takes a tongue-in-cheek approach to the theme, full of colorful art and nifty 3D bits. Decks of cards represent your different customer groups, which you can actually mix and match to change up the style of play in the game, which adds a lot of variability. As you fulfill orders with your resources, there's a simple, clever cafe upgrade system that you can take advantage of, and the review tokens cleverly mirror a review website's appearance. Seize the Bean adds some engaging twists to the deck building genre, and you can get a copy for €39. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye, and not in the whole zombie eating your head kind of way. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Board games throughout history. If you were an Aztec citizen in the 1300s, then you may have spent your nights playing Patoli and losing many of your possessions in the process. Here's what I mean. Patoli is an ancient Aztec board game that takes its name from the Aztec word for bean, Patoli, meaning fava or kidney bean. The game was named after beans because that's what you used as dice. 5 or 6 black beans would have one side marked with a hole on them, and that way, when you tossed those beans, it would result in some of them showing a little white pip, while others were blank, making Patoli really, honestly, the earliest form of point salad. Patoli was very popular throughout the entire Aztec Empire, with everyone from common peasants all the way up to noble families partaking in the game. But whether you were still just a humble farmer or a bejeweled member of the royal house, your games of Patoli usually also included gambling. Oh boy, and lots of it. Players often wagered vast treasures on its outcomes. They'd wager blankets, precious stones and gold, food, and even sometimes their homes, family, and even their own freedom. Patoli is played on a diagonal, cross-shaped board where one player controls red markers and the other one controls blue ones. On a player's turn, they would throw the beans like they were dice in order to bring their tokens onto the crisscross board and move them towards an exit ramp on the other end. This mechanism is still used in games we play today, like merging onto and off of the freeway. And every game of Patoli also included an invisible third player. Always considered to be joining the players at the table was the Aztec god of music, dance, and gambling known as... Oh my... I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Well, anyway, players were required to give this gentleman one of the items that they were wagering by placing them in a special reserved space if they ever rolled all blanks. The winner of the round would then receive all the treasures that had accumulated in that space as a gift from the god. And finally, as if this game's stakes weren't already high enough, if a player's toss of the beans ever resulted in all the beans standing up on their sides, then that player would automatically win all of the items being wagered by their opponent, meaning that in some point in history, it is actually quite possible that someone in Central America ended up gambling his entire family into a lifetime of indentured servitude because of the way that he just happened to drop 6 black beans. Keep that in mind during your next gaming session, because perhaps losing your favorite investigator to madness during a game of Eldritch Horror, well, just really isn't all that bad.
So what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, I'll be taking a look at several new different games that we have. Been playing a lot of different games. We are finally going to be reviewing Fallout, so your chance to see what we think of that very popular game for Fantasy Flight Games. We're doing another top 10 list this week. Last week we did top 10 two-player games for casual players. This week we'll be doing a top 10 two-player games, strategic games. Like, so if you're not the casual, but I just want to play a great two-player game, these are the ones we're talking about. So keep that in mind. All that stuff is coming. Like I said, we have some live plays. Some people have asked, how do I know when live plays are coming? If you watch our Twitter and our Facebook feeds, we will announce them there. And I'll be posting a video this week that lets you know all the different conventions that we plan to go to this year. Not only that, we got videos from Sam and from Z, and we got a Throat Punch lunch coming this Wednesday. Check that out. I already mentioned Dice Tower tonight. Reviews from other reviewers, and of course, the Dice Tower podcast, Mandy and Suzanne, with an episode coming this Tuesday. All right, let's keep moving.
Hello guys, I am Cardboard Rhino and welcome to Rhino Says Yes. Today I have a great game literally up my sleeve. It's Troll. Troll is a deduction and bluffing game for 3 to 5 players. Each player takes the role of a thief trying to steal jewels from the troll. In each round, a troll card will be revealed to indicate how many jewels can be stolen from the troll. The game starts with the first player, the scout, peeking at the top troll card of the deck and then declaring how many jewels he's stealing by placing the thief card with that number face up. The rest of the players have 2 options, either, like the scout, to look at the troll card and play a thief card, or to not look at the troll card and double the jewels they intend to escape with. Then the troll card is revealed and all numbers on the cards are totaled, starting from the smallest. When reaching the number that exceeds the troll's number, that thief or thieves are captured and lose 2 points, or 4 if they had a multiplier. The thieves before him escaped successfully and earned their points, and any thief after him runs away without any loot and doesn't get any points. Then you proceed to the next round with a new troll card, a new scout, and the thief cards already played stay where they are. After each player has had a turn as the scout, the game day ends and the thieves receive their jewels according to the points earned. And the player with the most jewels wins. First of all, how cute is this? It's from a Japanese company called Oink Games, and all of their games are small, minimal, and beautiful. In Troll specifically, it's interesting that the entire game is around anticipating other players' moves and guessing them by taking into account their remaining cards, their actions, and also their facial expressions. I personally love simplicity and elegance, so Rhino says yes to Troll. You should definitely give it a try.
Hi, Mike Delisio from Solomode Games. Today I want to talk a little bit about campaign games, and maybe a little bit more specifically into games that can sometimes be called lifestyle games. And I've seen them referred to this because they are games that have to fit into your particular lifestyle. There might be potentially hundreds of hours of gameplay to complete the entire campaign as it was designed. Now, this is something that is popular not just amongst solitaire gamers, but it increasingly is popular among gamers in general. And I think the shining example of this is the recent news of Gloomhaven becoming the #1 game on Board Game Geek. To play through that entire campaign, you are talking a significant amount of time. And I think I've mentioned previously on the channel that I owned Gloomhaven and I traded it before I even opened it because upon reflection and a little bit of research, I realized the amount of time that it would take to really give the game what it deserved. And so I realized that for my lifestyle, that was not going to be something that worked for me. Now, as these are becoming more and more popular, I'm wondering how many people out there are in a similar position. I'm a cult of the new gamer. I make no bones about it. I very rarely have the time that I choose to put into these lengthy campaigns. Now, there are some slight exceptions to this rule. I'm in the middle of a Charterstone campaign. I'm 4 games in. I'm playing that with other people. 12 games to me, that's manageable, especially since the games are relatively short. I've played Arcadia Quest campaigns and some of the D&D adventure games I've had no problem with, but it seems like these games are getting increasingly large and lengthy, and I'm just wondering, is this something that is going to continue? Is this a trend? And if so, how many of you are on board with that? How many people love this idea of gaming becoming more and more extensive in campaigns? And how many of you are maybe like me and have a very finite amount that they're willing to do? If you can let me know in the comments below, I'd be loving to hear it. Now, of course, I'm saying this as I'm recording this. I'm waiting for 7th Continent to show up on my doorstep, so what do I know? Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.
Two brothers set loose in a thrift store. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
Oh gosh, oh gosh. Oh Jenny, this is such a big shot for him. I tell you, he's been toiling away on the greens. He's having a hard time. He keeps using that darn sand wedge on the green. If he can sink this, he'll secure first place. Well, not first place, 17th place, but there's a 1 in there. He's toiled away in the lower leagues for years and years and years, Jenny. Oh gosh. Can he make it? Can he? Oh no, he sliced it.
Dude, I'm literally in my backswing. Can you not? Was I saying that out loud? Yes! Oh. How'd it sound? I'm trying to go for a new job. Commentary. Get off of my green! That checks out. Alright, so this is Ultimate Golf, and it's going to simulate playing a round of 18 all over the world. So we're starting off in Sandwich, England. Dan Hughes, what's going on here? So we are going to be trying to get through this hole as quickly as we can. We have a little shot locator indicator thing, and we have a number of clubs we can use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tee off. So I'm going to select my driver. Now once I select my club, I have a chart on the back side, which basically is going to tell me what's going to happen based on my dice roll. So that is going to basically change where your shot ends up based on where you want it to. If I land right here, now I'm in the middle of the fairway and I'm going to choose another shot. Once you're on the green, you actually use your putter card to gauge distance, and based on that, you're going to be trying to roll basically high numbers, and that is how you ultimately golf. So that was Ultimate Golf! The ultimate game of golf. So ultimate! Bang, bang. I think it kind of absolutely worked. Here's the thing. I had a good time. It's all luck based because you pick the certain cards, but like ultimately whatever you roll is what you get. But like, I suck at golf. Whenever I hit a golf ball, it's 100% luck based where that's going. It's like how big and weird they're just so big and square. And you can kind of make a competition. You can play for money. This one is 2 thumbs up in my book in terms of thrift store stuff. That's gonna be it for us, you guys. Check us out on social media. Stream with us live on the Twitch. On the Twitchies. On the Twitch.tv/The Brothers Murph. We usually stream there at least twice a week. Super fun. Check it out. Sign up our fun, guys. We'll see you there. And until next time, we'll see you in the driving range, brother. We'll see ya. I sliced it!
Who amongst you is a thief? I'm not talking about it in the games, I'm talking about in board gaming in general. And I may have talked about this topic in the past, and there's actually nothing that has really brought this to the forefront, but this happens sometimes when we're playing a game. So, I was playing a game recently, and I'm going to keep the game name out of it, but this game was very similar to another game that was already printed. I mean, to the extent when I played it, I said, it's just like this game, and you do this. It's just like this game, you do this. Here's where the differences are. And the question is, when is that theft? Now, you're going to hear all sorts of answers. I know some people who've designed the original game who are really angry if someone makes even the slightest variant on their basic game. I remember very distinctly when Dominion first came out, and Thunderstone was one of the first deck builders, and people said, they're stealing Dominion's idea. And then, it was actually a whole genre. Once it becomes a genre, no one considers it theft anymore, right? No one looks at a new collectible card game and goes, they're ripping off Magic the Gathering. Because collectible card gaming is a genre, so is deck building. But the first time something happens, there's going to be that inevitable, did you take that idea? Now, I think sometimes there is outright theft, okay? There's been cases of this in the industry where someone says, you basically took my idea. In fact, there was just a reason in the last year, there was a Chinese company took to court where they essentially took the same game and just changed things. And there's not a lot that we can do to stop it, especially if you change enough stuff. Unfortunately, the laws, people can get away with this stuff, and it mostly refers to public shaming to stop these people and things like that. But what is considered theft? I think we can all agree that if it's the exact same game, that's theft. I mean, we'll talk about this in the future, but Asmodee has recently been talking about counterfeiting, and that's just straight up theft. You're stealing the whole game and printing it. Okay, that's wrong. What if I take the game and change the theme, but keep everything exactly the same? That feels like theft to me. What if I keep the game, change the theme, and change a few mechanisms? Okay, now I'm thinking a little bit more. I mean, how many changes do you have to make to a game before it's different? how many changes you have to make to a game before you put in the rule book, we like to thank so-and-so for their inspiration to this game. And that's kind of an intriguing thing, right? Because I think we see this more often than anywhere else in party games. I will constantly get an email from someone that says, there's this brand new party game. I'm like, well, that party game already exists. You might have made the most minor of corrections on it, but it is essentially the same as this party game. Because party games are usually one mechanism, so that they're pretty easy to tell. And it's not always just a theft there. It just happens to be an idea that they had that already existed. With bigger, more grandiose games, it can be a little trickier. Can an author thieve himself? Can they take this game that they've made and make some minor tweaks and publish it with someone else? That's definitely happened. Sometimes it's happened deliberately where an author was unhappy with the game that someone was printing and they're like, all right, I'll make some changes and publish it with another designer. Sometimes it's more of an ambivalent thing like Richard Borg has Memoir 44 and all these games, which are very similar, but they're different wars and different systems. And so no one is complaining and saying, you stole our game. No, it's the same game-ish, but there's major changes, especially in theming, amongst the different people. And so that's not as much of a problem. And I know that when I say this, people are going to be like, well, so-and-so definitely does this, so-and-so does it. But my question to you guys, and this is where I struggle, is where do you draw the line? To me, it's pretty easy when you see the game and it's the exact same game with minor changes. We had definitely an example of that last year where there was a company who even was caught cutting and pasting some of the rules from the game they were stealing from, which made it pretty obvious that they were doing that. And again, one of the reasons I'm very cautious to say is because I don't want to necessarily accuse people of theft or stealing, but it does exist. But there's also borrowing. There's nothing wrong with using someone else's mechanisms in your game. There's nothing wrong with saying, well, that's a cool idea. I'll use it in my game. So, I don't know. What do we do? How much credit do you need to give? If I use deck building, do I need to say thank you to Donald Vaccarino? If I use collectible card gaming, do I need to say thank you to Richard Garfield? If I take some new dice mechanisms that I found in some new Euro games, I need to say, ooh, I need to try this one out, and I need to say, well, thank you to so and so who made that. And if I say, well, I really like this game, I wish I had done a few changes to it, is it okay for me to then publish that game and make those few changes? It's an interesting thing, and I think there's a fine line. I think that if you, as a designer, are going, I don't know, then it's probably a no, right? If you have to ask, no. But what if you don't have to ask? That's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know. What if you are confused about it yourself? Tell me what you guys think. Are there clear examples where you think that a game has been wholesale copied? And if it has, what's the recourse for us? As consumers, we can just say we're not going to buy it. We have purchasing power. I don't know. Again, I want to clarify, I'm not talking about counterfeiting and just outright theft of games. That's wrong, it's illegal, it's criminal, and I hope you're prosecuted to the full extent of the law if you're caught. And we'll talk more about counterfeiting in the future. I'm talking about games where they're pretty similar. What do you do in that regard? I don't even know. I don't have the great example. That doesn't seem very clear-cut to me.
So last week I went over how video games can actually help board games. So we're just going to talk about board games this time. Hi, I'm Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and this is what you check out when we go on the internet checking out videos, blogs, where we can find, we go ahead and suggest for you to check out. So let's go ahead and start. Now last week I brought up how we can learn a ton from the GDC, YouTube, convention, channel, whatever. So we're actually going to emphasize actually board game specific panels that they had there. So first off, if you've never been to a convention or ever been to a panel before or anything like that, I'd highly suggest you start out with the State and Future of Board Game Design. It literally is almost exactly what you'd see at a convention. It has a bunch of well-known names in the industry, designers, whatever. In this one, it features Rob Davio, Eric Lang, and Jeffrey Engelstein, and also Paul Bean from Shut Up and Sit Down, who... Why is he there, actually? I'm just kidding. Paul makes actually a great host in this panel. I'd highly suggest you check it out, even if you're not a designer or anything like that, of course. It's just an interesting topic. They even have a bunch of them basically going over the beginning to end story of how they made the game. Some of my favorites include Mechs vs. Minions, the story about how Pandemic Legacy started, and they even have one with the guys from Secret Hitler talking about the game design and how it started. And I think I want to end this segment with how board games matter. They got one of the head guys in charge of, I think, a Civ 5, Civ 4, and Civ 3, and a bunch of other very well-known video games, and he literally goes off and tells you how board games make a big difference in the video game market, and also how vice versa and how they can learn from each other. Like, one of his points is that, like, when video games start displaying things in 6-7 digit numbers, I'm mostly talking about RPGs with those damage counters and stuff, those just make no sense and that's just bad design. But when you look at things like board games where they're just literally in the single digits and maybe even double digits at the most usually, those are perfectly fine and we can handle those things in terms of a lot of games, RPGs and all. And one of my favorite little points that he goes on, he talks about fighting games for a little while in terms of how first part of fighting games is all physical, it's all mechanical, you gotta learn how to do all the combos and stuff. But then you miss out, a lot of people miss out on that whole second half of the game, which is all the mind games, the counters, and all those things. But then he compares it to Yomi, where that's all about it, that's all about the counters, the strategy, and all those things. So it's great that board games exist because you can skip some of those physical limits. But basically what I'm trying to say is that I feel like we can learn a lot from our history. Video games is very much a part of that. But once again, this is Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and I hope you're enjoying your breakfast.
Hey folks, just want to take some time here. In the Dice Tower Network, we have a lot of great podcasts, and we don't add podcasts willy-nilly, but we wanted to add some new podcasts, some new blood to the network. So we're going to be talking about 2 new podcasts that we're adding to the network this week, and then next week we'll add a couple more. The first one here is Board Games with Panda. This is a podcast that is hosted by Brad and Amanda, husband and wife, and they're going to focus on a wide range of games. They talk about all sorts of things: Euros, thematic games, cooperative games, bi-weekly episodes, and occasionally they do some bonus contents there. 45 minutes to an hour, a topic for the episode with game comparisons, favorite lists, and things like that. So I encourage you to go check them out. Board Games with Panda. We'll have links and stuff, and of course, you can always check out our website if you like, oh, what new podcast episodes have been released from Dice Tower Network. So you can just go there, click on episodes, and see the newest episode from any of our shows. So go check out Board Games with Panda. The other podcast that we are adding is from Chris. Now, well, I say Chris because I've known him for a long time. The podcast is called Tabletop Game Talk. This is a podcast where they look at the gaming hobby from a topic level. This is made up of 3 people, Chris, Amanda, and Josh. And Chris is the hardcore Euro, basically, with the buying habit. Kitty grew up playing family games, and she's competitive and a rules lawyer. And Josh is the Brit, or the noob of the group, who's also analysis paralysis. And so they're not always all in each episode, but they'll go back and forth. And they put one up every Tuesday. And Chris is one of the smartest people I know about board games, can really delve into them. And so I'm really excited to see this podcast and check it out. And I hope that you will enjoy it too. Both of these podcasts, like I said, are joining the Dice Tower Network, so we encourage you to go give them a listen. There's a lot of great podcasts on our network, folks. There's got to be at least one for you to listen to, and if you're like, man, I got 5 hours of every week I don't know what to do with, fill it up with all sorts of podcasts. Anyway, just wanted to let you guys know about that. Let's keep going.
Hello everyone, my name is Annette, and you may know me as Netters Plays. And today on Apply Mechanics, I'm going to go over the game of Yinch. So Yinch is an abstract game that has simple rules to follow. However, the complexity comes in the way that the players move. So let me go ahead and show you how to play the game and what I really like about it. Each player at the beginning of the game is going to take their rings and place it at the center of any one of these intersections. Once both players have placed all of their 5 rings onto the board, next they'll be able to move them. The first thing you'll do is reach into the bag and pull out one of these markers. You pick your colored side, and you pick one of your rings in order to place that marker in. When you place that marker, you place it inside the ring, and then you can move that ring along any one of these lines from that intercept. You can flip these markers by simply moving your ring up and over them, and then flipping the ones that you've jumped over, including the ones of your color type. You cannot jump over any other rings at all. The goal of the game is to collect these rings from off the board. If you place one of your markers down such that it completes a row of 5 of your color type, then you automatically take those 5 pips from the board, place them back into the bag, and then you get to collect one of the rings. The goal of the game is to collect 3 rings of your type. If you're the first to do so, you win the game. So as you can see, the way that the players use the rule is what I like best because the rules themselves are easy to follow. The way that you interact with your pieces and how you interact with your opponent's pieces is what creates a complexity in the game itself. You have to tactically react to your opponent's plays as well as figure out how to meet your goal of winning the game. And that is more complex than you might imagine. And that's why I really like Yinch, because the simple rules doesn't mean it's a simple game. It's all about how you play it. Well, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Happy breakfast, everybody. Today I'm here to talk to you about something that crosses genres. The humble camel. Whether they're being traded at a market for gold or leather, they're competing in a race that's being bet on where mounting is legal, or perhaps they're just wandering through a desert. There's something that's oddly fun about camels in board games. Jaipur is one of my favourite two-player games, and camels are often hotly contested back and forth in this game, as they're kind of used as a wild card. You can just effectively use them to take anything from the market in front of you that you want. You can take them all at the same time, which is always good fun. In Camel Up, or Camel Cup as some people like to call it, you get everyone cheering for the different coloured camels, because that can change during the race, because you don't own one of the races. You're just betting on them as they go, and that can be really entertaining to see. But for me, at the moment at least, my favourite camel game is Through the Desert. The board can look a bit busy towards the end with a lot of camels on the board. There's a lot of tokens on the board at the start, but there's a simplicity to the gameplay that's really enjoyable and means you can get the game to the table with pretty much anyone. On each and every turn, players will take 2 and only 2 camels and place them on the board. They can be the same colour or different colours. All you need to do is extend your caravan of that colour on by 1 or the 2 camels and try and make it hit onto some oasis palm trees or across waterhole tokens. The final way of scoring during the game is just loop off a little area. I've really enjoyed being able to play with some people that have otherwise been daunted by a lot of games that I've had. Anyway, thanks for listening to me waffle on all about camels, and I'm Oliver East, signing out.
Boxes that, no matter how I turn them, won't fit on a Calyx shelf. It's just a little too big. Wait, maybe I should be hitting the game.
Hi everyone. After 10 months of intensive exploration, scientists in Mexico have discovered world's largest underwater cave. And it's truly an underwater wonderland. Spanning an incredible 216 miles of subterranean caverns, this branching sunken labyrinth isn't just a natural spectacle, it's also an important archaeological find that could tell lost stories of the ancient Maya civilization. This week I am playing a game that not just takes place on ground, but asks you to go deeper and find the hidden stories that lie beneath it. This week I am playing Above and Below. In Above and Below, you are expanding your new hometown and foremost exploring the caverns underneath it. Every time you send your villagers out to explore, your other players will read you a story from this thick storybook with sweet stories that me and my now 9-year-old son really love. At the end of each story there is a decision point and you get to choose which of the endings will come into effect. When we play, the stories that we engage are so much fun and are so interesting that actually we forget that we're playing a game and we should be focused on how to win the game. You can recruit new villagers, construct houses, and try to gather as much and as many different resources as you can. Boy, we have enjoyed playing this game a lot. But the game has been replaced by a new game from the same company and the same designer. A new game that is called Near and Far, which is just the same thing but with a more legacy-like aspect. You're following the stories of certain characters and it's so much fun. I really, really recommend that one. So with either one you're good. Above and Below or Near and Far. My name is Dave Luza. Thanks for watching.
If you're anything like me, then sometimes you are wrong. And by you, I mean me, and by wrong, I mean Imperial Settlers. The board game. that I said I hated a bunch of times. I do still stand by the fact that it is not a good 2-player game, but I played it as a 4-player game with all the expansions and all the bits and stuff, and I really quite liked it and had a good time and won, which probably helped, but I was wrong. And you know, I still don't like destroying other people's villages, but sometimes you gotta get just one more food to do a whole bunch of stuff, and I will destroy your whole world to do it and not feel that bad. I feel a little bad, but not enough not to do it. And this revelation has made me think, what other things am I wrong about? I mean, is Small World a good game? And surely can't be right. You barely trade for silk at all. But I think I might have learned a lesson finally, to give some games a second chance when literally everyone tells you that you're wrong about it, which is what happened in the comments numerous times when I mentioned Imperial Settlers. And sometimes the games play different with different player counts apparently, or just different groups in general. So I think I might have to reevaluate my whole life. Probably won't though. Probably give that a miss. Bye.
And that is it, folks, for another Board Game Breakfast. Thanks so much for watching. We got lots more videos coming this week. You say, where are they? There's only one that went up today. Oh, that's right. We also do weekend review every week. If you want to see a short description of all the reviews we did that week, that's a good one to check out. I'll see you back at 2 o'clock where we'll talk about, well, whatever you want to talk about in a live Q&A. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.